And a former police officer convicted in the Blue House prostitution case is appealing his conviction up at the Guam Supreme Court. Anthony Quenga's attorney, Randy Cunliffe, argues that there were a number of errors made in the indictment charging Quenga, but the AG's office says what matters is that the facts were proven, and that's why the jury found him guilty. Anthony Quenga's attorney, Randy Cunliffe, argued his client's appeal, citing a number of issues with the case, beginning with the indictment.
I think that this is the worst drafted indictment I have seen in 38 years of practicing law in Guam.
Cunliffe first focused on the statute of limitations on felonies, which is 3 years. The last allegation of prostitution occurred in 2008, but the government did not charge Quenga until more than 4 years later in 2012. Now, the AG's office argues that because Quenga was a sworn police officer, Guam law allows for an exception, and up to 3 years of the employee leaving that position. Cunliffe points out that the prosecution never pleaded that Quenga was a cop.
Everything was January of 2008 and earlier. So they didn't get in any evidence that he was a police officer at the time of trial. They didn't get in any evidence as to him being a police officer within 3 years of the expiration of the statute of limitations.
However, Assistant Attorney General Marianne Wollaschuk countered that there was some evidence introduced to note that Quenga was indeed a police officer.
So, as of February 2011, Manila is still a police officer.
Well, what about Quenga?
And then Lakshmana testified that both Quenga and Manila were his supervisors, and that he used to ride with them, and he rode with them from 2006 to 2012.
Another issue Cunliffe pointed out was the excessive conspiracy charges, a total of 37. Cunliffe says one conspiracy charge should suffice, and that by charging Quenga 37 times, it unfairly prejudiced his client.
But 37 conspiracies, that's an additional 36 counts that should not have been in the indictment. And their right to a fair trial is seriously affected.
That's not true in this case, because these jurors did have many counts to look at, and yet if they were so jaded, they would have found the defendants guilty of all of them, and instead they found them not guilty. Quenga was found not guilty as to one of the victims. And
the Supreme Court justices took the matter under advisement.